All right, I'm Kurt Menefee, voice of the USFL on Fox. Am I the voice? I don't know about that. I'm the lead play-by-play guy, whatever that means. Whatever it means that football, springtime, is back and is back in Detroit. Get on down here to Ford Field, catch the Michigan Panthers in action. They start playing home games April 30th, and the season returns April 15th. I know all USFL fans are excited about that. I am.
What is up, my friends, and welcome to the off-season edition of the USFL Week in Review. I'm your host, Mark Perry, editor of USFL News Hub, your alt football media guru. On this week's show, USFL adds Canton, Ohio, and Detroit, Michigan as their hubs. We got the 4 hubs. We are ready to rock and roll. Plus, the Maulers changed their look, and so much more. So we are excited to be back here on then. We had a show last week. There was so much news this week. We had to come back online and do another show. So we've got that for you today. So remember, if you like football, then subscribe to our channel. Hit the like button. We'd appreciate that. Get alerted, hit the notification bell when all new content comes out. You'll be the first to know. And let's get this show up to 20 likes, shall we? We got a lot of cool news. Plus, we're going to go through a bunch of roster moves and so much more on today's program. So if you want to be part of the show, email podcast@USFL News Hub with your thoughts, record an MP3 or video on your phone. We'll play it on the show, or leave us a voicemail, 888-430-7692, extension 5. Also, hey, do us a favor. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Help spread the word not only about this show, but about the USFL, that there are options out there more than just the NFL, as that season is coming to a close real soon. We basically got the championship, the 2 playoff games this weekend. Then we have a break, and then we have the Super Bowl. So things are, we've seen a bunch of USFL commercials, and we'll see them throughout the playoffs on Fox, which is really exciting too. The timeline. We don't know when training camps start. We haven't heard any kind of official word yet. April 15th, 2023 is the USFL season begins. So we're 87 days. We're less than 100 days. 87 days, my friend, till USFL kickoff. And I'm excited. I'm excited about these hubs. What we're going to have is we're going to have actually sound bites and video, if you're watching on YouTube, of kind of some of the highlights that were discussed during these press releases this week. Plus, we have some stuff about the Maulers and their change in color. I think Maulers is my team. My wife is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I'm a Ravens fan. Our team was the Tampa Bay Bandits. Now that the Maulers are back with the black and gold, and we've got rid of and got a new coach that I'm excited about, Ray Horton. And then the fact that now we can go to games in Canton, Ohio. It is 5 hours from where I live, but we love Canton. And, shout out to Sparta Steakhouse there in Canton, Ohio. Excited to go back there. So with all that said, I think that might be my team. I haven't quite locked it down yet, but I think the Pittsburgh Maulers, and I think they're going to be really good this year. So if you like football, remember, like and subscribe to the channel. Let's get this sucker to 20 likes. Later on in the show, we'll get some social media stuff. Plus, we'll talk about fantasy football that is on the way. We did it last year. Was it a rounding success? It was an alpha version. We're at the beta now. We're going through the USFL season with this. Then we'll have the XFL season is coming up. System is being worked on right now, and people are using it, and I think it's a lot more tighter than it was last year. Then we'll have the USFL season, and we'll also have CFL. Plus, we're going to do something new this year, is pick'em games. So you'll be able to pick who you think the winners are, what do you think the total score is. We might do attendance. I don't know about that yet, because I don't know if we can get that data, but that's also an addition to playing fantasy football. But you can actually play pick'em too, which a lot of fans were asking me about during the USFL season, and now we have it there. It will be there for the XFL. As soon as the schedule comes out, that will be ready to go as well. So without further ado, folks, let's just get into the week, the crazy, awesome week that was the USFL.
So we appreciate you taking the time to come out and do this in person. Those of you that are watching online and other places, for me, this is the 3rd straight year that I've been able to come to Canton. We were here for the induction of the class of 2021 at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in the summer of 21 when Jimmy Johnson went in. We were here last summer to cap off the inaugural season for the USFL when the Philadelphia Stars and Birmingham Stallions played for the championship, and Birmingham won a thrilling game that was seen all across the country on Fox Sports to a large audience. And now we're back again this year, my third straight year in Canton. And two things that really stood out to me about being in this area. One, I'm surprised at how good the restaurant, shout out to Bender's and also Gervasi's winery. And then the other one is the passion for people and their love of football here. And it's not just football fans that are here. You have football fans all over the country, but there's a passion that exists here in this part of the country that you don't find in a lot of other places. And that was shown last year when the championship game was played here. And we saw a packed house, and parents and kids and getting autographs and just enjoying the atmosphere. And that showed on television, which made a better broadcast for us. But it was really something special, and I'm looking forward to being able to.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. 6 months ago, when the USFL handed over the first championship trophy to the Birmingham Stallions just outside this room, little did we know that we'd be back here today to say we are back. The USFL is excited that the Pittsburgh Maulers and the New Jersey Generals will practice and play games in Canton during the 2023 regular season. Thanks to a successful season one that was capped by an incredible postseason here in Canton, the USFL is now a proven and stable brand on the professional football national stage. Season 2 is about growing our fan base by continuing to play high quality and competitive football that fans love to watch, expanding into additional markets, and strengthening our partnerships. Returning to Canton for 2023 achieves these goals. The outstanding regional support we received during our first postseason from football fans in Ohio and Pennsylvania, including the great city of Pittsburgh, coupled with our successful partnership with the Hall of Fame Village, led to this moment. The Pro Football Hall of Fame Village shines as a beacon for football fans across the country. Because we know these fans crave more football, we're also thrilled to announce that the USFL North Division playoff game and championship game will return here in 2023. While we remain committed to incrementally placing all teams into their namesake markets, expanding play in Canton with two iconic franchises continues building a regional fan base, keeps the brand in the national consciousness, and strengthens the league's partnerships with the Hall of Fame Village in preparation to bring postseason games back to Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. In 2023, the USFL is proud to bring high quality and competitive football to Canton, Birmingham, and Memphis. In the days ahead, we'll make more news about what is going to be an exciting USFL Season 2 that begins in April. But first, it's our privilege to announce that the Pittsburgh Maulers and the New Jersey Generals will face off in Canton's first regular season game on Sunday, April 23rd. Fans can pre-register for USFL Canton game tickets via Ticketmaster to make a deposit for $25 and lock in priority access. The man leading the Pittsburgh Maulers is a three-time Super Bowl winner. One of those is a teammate of mine with the Dallas Cowboys. He is very familiar with this region, having been a defensive coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers as a secondary coach and a defensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the newest member of the USL family, your head coach of the Pittsburgh Maulers, Ray Horton.
Thank you, teammate. I'll give it a little bit of right rudder to keep it even. If I took a heading of 258, I go a little bit southwest down to Dayton, home of Wright Brothers, birthplace of aviation. Well, I kind of feel like Ohio is my birthplace into professional football. I was originally out of the University of Washington, and I was originally first drafted by the LA Express of the USFL. Then, in the second round, I was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals, whose owner at the time was Paul Brown, one of the innovators of pro football. I mean, a brilliant man. And I remember some of the stories he told me, just chilling stories of life and men and America. His son is still down there now, Mike Brown, and his other son, Pete Brown, who's one of the most compassionate men in football, passed away a few years ago. I was devastated by that. He was probably the most kindest soul in football I've ever met. And Katie Brown Blackburn is still down there, and the Bengals are doing well. I also coach up at Cleveland Browns, and although we didn't win a lot, I tell you what, the fans of Cleveland adopted me as one of their homes. I love the fans of Cleveland. Then, of course, we were at Pittsburgh, and we were fantastic over there. So I look at the triangle of Southern Ohio, Northern Ohio, Western PA as my kind of birthplace of pro football, and I'm indebted to that.
I can say in business, you're only successful when you have great partners and you have great teams. I look at the USFL as a great partner. What they're doing, what they're launching, is tagging on to our motto: inspiring the past, honoring the past, inspiring the future. They're honoring what has happened and everything, and I think paying tribute to the Pro Football Hall of Fame and the greats that have been inducted there, players, contributors, coaches. But they're giving these young men an opportunity to further their dream, to be a professional football player, to be a professional football coach. That's something I have a lot of passion for. Everything we do, we want to do it at the highest level. Our destination here continues to evolve. We've put a lot of new assets in place. Experiences are going to be opening. We're going to be entertaining guests before and after. And yeah, we have created an opportunity for people to walk around freely with beverages and feel good about where they're at. We've got outdoor rides. We're building a football-themed water park this year, building a football-themed hotel this year, the only football-themed water park in America. So the goal here is, and I think Larry said this last night, this is turnkey. It's purpose-built to host great events, great entertainment, great sports. I am so honored, we are so honored to have this league choose us as one of the 4 destinations to play.
Whether you're a young man, young woman, and getting older man or older woman, it still gives you that opportunity. And the guy who had the vision to put all of this together and bring the USFL back is the CEO and executive producer of Fox Sports, my boss, Eric Jenks.
All right, thank you, Kurt. Good to see such a packed house here this morning. I won't be long, but I just wanted to say a number of thank yous that made today and this entire operation possible. On the USFL and Fox side, I see Larry Jones, Dan Carey, who runs the business operations side of the USFL, while Daryl runs the football side. Thank you, Mike, and then the other Mike Levy. Also, John and Ann and Vic, thank you guys so much for not only what you did for our playoffs and championship game last year, but as Mike said, making it impossible for us to go anywhere else for 2023. Home of football and the fantastic partnership with the Hall of Fame, that it's great to officially welcome Canton to Season 2 of the USFL. So whether it's in the Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, watching the games, or if you're watching on your couch on Fox or NBC, the USFL is going to bring fans closer to the game that it loves. And we hope that fans and families, because it is such a family-friendly atmosphere that we want to create around the USFL, when they come to Canton to celebrate football by seeing a USFL game, visiting the Hall of Fame Museum, or checking out the amazing programming that's going to happen in the Hall of Fame Village, starting with that first game right here on April 23rd. So we just couldn't be more excited to kick off Season 2. Again, thank you to everyone who's making this happen, for all of us at the USFL, and to making this vision and dream come true. Kurt?
All right, so the USFL is now back in Canton, Ohio, and there's more than just playing games. So at the press conference that you just heard at the Hall of Fame Village, announced that Canton will be the host of 2 teams during the upcoming regular season, as well as, here's the other kicker, the North Division playoff game in late June and the USFL championship game in early July. Remember last time it was around that July 4th weekend. The announcement comes 6 months after the Hall of Fame Village hosted the USFL postseason game during the Professional Spring League's first season. Quote, the USFL is excited that the Pittsburgh Maulers and New Jersey Generals will practice and play in Canton during the 2023 regular season. Daryl Johnson, who you heard in that clip, the USFL Executive Vice President of Football Operations. The outstanding regional support we received during the first postseason from fans in Ohio and Pennsylvania, including the great city of Pittsburgh, coupled with our successful partnership with the Hall of Fame Village, led to this moment. Now, the Maulers and Generals will face off in Canton's first regular season game on Sunday, April 23rd. The North Division playoff game and USFL championship game will also return to Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, with dates and times to be announced later. Fans can pre-register for USFL Canton game tickets at Ticketmaster for a $25 deposit, or they can go to theusfl.com. Again, they talk about the great partnership that they have. USFL is a fan-first league. That's coming from Michael Crawford, Hall of Fame Resort and Entertainment Company. The new Pittsburgh Maulers head coach, Ray Horton, who was hired by the USFL earlier this month, sees the move to Canton in 2023 as an opportunity to build a regional fan base. Because we have a defensive coach of both the Pittsburgh Steelers and Cleveland Browns, he knows how passionate football fans are of Western Pennsylvania and Northeast Ohio. That sell is a little tough. I thought maybe they might switch the team name, but I would assume that they'd eventually want to move to Pittsburgh. But maybe they add a team. I don't know. It's just going to be really interesting, this part, because this is the only location that doesn't actually, the team is not there. Now, 90 minutes isn't too far from Pittsburgh. And I remember speaking to USFL officials during the championship game where they were hoping that the Maulers would be in the playoffs or be in the championship game because they were so close to Canton, Ohio. So I get that part. It's not in the town, it's not even in the same state, but neither is the New Jersey, the New York Jets and New York Giants. They're in New Jersey. And for a lot of fans, they probably have to travel an hour and a half to get there too. So I get that point. We'll see. I'm very excited for Canton to have the home team play their games there, and I'm really curious of how the fan base, because they'll get what's nice about it is they'll get fans from Cleveland. I don't know if Cleveland fans are going to vote for a Pittsburgh team because of the Browns are in the same division. I don't know if they can do that, but it'll be interesting to see if Cleveland fans come to Canton and watch the Pittsburgh Maulers, and of course, anybody from Pennsylvania coming up there too. That this one hub is going to be the most fascinating to look out for. Now, maybe next year the USFL says, you know what, we're out of here. We got a place in Pittsburgh and we're good to go. So we'll just have to wait there. So, of course, they talked about the USFL is the first major professional league in 40 years. And they had the game last year. Everything was a great success. So there you have it. The New Jersey Generals and Pittsburgh Maulers will be playing in Canton, Ohio at Tom Benson Stadium. Do you think this is a good move? Do you think they should have tried to do something in Pittsburgh? This one is one of the hubs to watch when it comes to attendance versus all the other ones. It's going to be real interesting, and we'll find out soon enough, less than 100 days until USFL kickoff.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for coming out here on this great day in Detroit. I'm Kurt Menefee. Most of you know me as host of Fox NFL Sunday, but last year I had the honor of being the lead play-by-play guy for the USFL on Fox, along with my analyst, Joel Klatt. A lot of you know him from his work at many a Michigan game. And it was fun, and it was good to do spring football and be part of something special. It was the rebirth of the USFL. It was the rebirth of the Michigan Panthers. 40 years ago, they won the first championship of the USFL, beating the Philadelphia Stars. And now they're back. And talk about rebirth, I think it fits perfectly for what's going on here. I was telling some people last night when we were out at dinner, I've been coming to Detroit for decades now for sporting events. And I think it's indicative of what happens in this state, in this region, in this city in particular, rebirth. Because for all those decades, I always heard, hey, we're trying to reignite downtown Detroit. We're trying to reinvigorate this area of the state. And I think rebirth and being reborn is what is happening, not just with the USFL, not just with the Michigan Panthers, but I can see the difference. Maybe you don't see it incrementally when you live here, but when you don't and you come and visit from time to time, you can see Detroit has been reborn. Downtown Detroit has been reborn. And I think that sports plays a large part of it. This building that we're in right now, Ford Field, across the street, Comerica Park, both at the turn of the century, bringing people back downtown. Little Caesars Arena, bringing the Pistons back downtown, having the Red Wings here. Not only does it help from a business standpoint, but it helps from a community standpoint. because it unifies people. It gives them not only a gathering place that physically they can be together, but something to rally around. And I think sports does that. It's a sense of community that brings people together. The USFL certainly did that last year in its first year back. And I think that here in Detroit, with the Michigan Panthers being back as well, it will continue that rebirth that downtown Detroit has happened. And so many partners really help make this day happen that we're here to celebrate, including many dignitaries in this room, a lot of them here in the first row. It's impossible to recognize everyone, but I do want to thank Governor Gretchen Whitmer and Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist, Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan, who's sitting right here. He'll be speaking later today. Wayne County Executive Warren Evans, who's right there as well, and Mary Sheffield and the Detroit City Council. Rod Wood, Kelly Cazell, Brad Michaels, and all of the Detroit Lions team here at this world-class facility that I mentioned earlier, Ford Field. They help make this our new home. And everyone at the Henry Ford Health System who will be protecting the health and safety of both players and fans during the games here at Ford Field. Scott Weatherby and all the folks at Eastern Michigan University, where our teams will have their practices. Tom Gores, Arn Tellem, and Richard Haddad from the Detroit Pistons, we thank you for your support and your resources as well. And Dan Gilbert and his team at Rocket Companies, Jay Farner, Mark Hollis, Jared Fleischer, and Chuck Wilson. As I said, so many members of the community, so many political and sports leaders worked very hard to make this day happen, and we're here to celebrate not only them, but this very special announcement. So I say thank you to everyone who had a hand in making this possible. And to get us started off officially, I'd like to bring up the Executive Vice President of Football Operations for the USFL, Daryl Moose Johnston.
We're thrilled to officially join the community of Detroit, which has always been a city with a deep legacy of entertaining people, especially in sports. The USFL is proud to be part of the revitalization of downtown Detroit, and we are excited about turning up the Motown music and firing up a new fan base for professional spring football in Michigan. The USFL is appreciative of the tremendous support and commitment from the city of Detroit, officials at Ford Field, and Eastern Michigan University, and countless other community and sports leaders around the region for bringing back the USFL to the state of Michigan. And none of this would be possible without our elite media partners, Fox Sports and NBC Sports. As part of the Fox family in the house today, we're thrilled to have CEO Eric Shanks. And unfortunately, Mother Nature would not cooperate with us, so we were actually supposed to have legendary University of Michigan Wolverine Charles Woodson with us today, but they would not let him escape from Miami last night, and truth be told, he may be getting a little bit soft being down in South Florida from the Michigan weather, so we miss Charles here today. Whether it's Ann Arbor, East Lansing, Ypsilanti, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Marquette, or right here in Detroit, the entire state of Michigan has a rich tradition of being fanatic about football. The USFL has come home to Michigan because fans here share our passion to celebrate football as much as we do. The USFL has a strong commitment to community outreach, so the Panthers and Stars look forward to engaging this community and becoming part of the fabric of the greater Detroit metro area. As Kurt mentioned, we remember that the Michigan Panthers are in the history books by winning the first USFL championship in 1983. Now, 40 years later, we're ready to write an exciting new chapter. The new USFL has already made history. Thanks to a remarkably successful inaugural season last year, the USFL is now a proven and stable brand on the professional football national stage. Crowning a champion last July was a generational accomplishment because the USFL did something no one else could: complete a successful spring football season and return for season 2. In fact, it's been nearly 40 years since a major professional spring football league has accomplished this feat. The last to do it was the 1980s USFL. Our championship game last July, in front of a capacity crowd at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, showed the USFL has a strong future. We're proud of the high quality and competitive football we provided for our fans. We expect season 2 to be even better. We're confident because in November, we announced that the Memphis Showboats and Houston Gamblers will be hosted in Memphis. We also announced that the Birmingham Stallions and the New Orleans Breakers will be hosted in Birmingham. Yesterday, we announced that the Pittsburgh Maulers and the New Jersey Generals will be hosted in Canton for the upcoming 2023 regular season. As we continue to move more teams into their local markets, this season will be about growing our fan base by continuing to play the brand of football that fans love to watch, strengthening our partnerships, and embracing opportunities. Today's opportunity not only involves the return of the Panthers, but also to announce that this region will host the Philadelphia Stars in 2023 as well. 40 years ago, the Panthers and Stars faced off in the first USFL championship game, the start of a historic rivalry that will be renewed this season. It's going to be an exciting USFL Season 2, especially on Sunday, April 30th, when the Michigan Panthers will kick off right here at Ford Field. That will mark the first of several weekends where fans can watch USFL games here in Detroit. For a fun and affordable football experience, fans can go to the USFL, 2 words, squeezed together, theusfl.com to make a deposit and lock in priority access. We also encourage
Well, thank you, Kurt, and I am the biggest fan, but Detroit football fans were not ready for this season to be over. The way the Lions were going at the end with that turnaround, we wanted more, and now we are going to have football this April right back in the city here at Ford Field. And if you haven't seen USFL football, it's a little bit different. Fast pace. They don't have onside kickoffs. They do this 4th and 12 play instead, which is safer and I think more interesting. And they got 3-point conversions in Qatar. I think it's our largest Air Force base in the Middle East, and it was an amazing facility. And while I'm there, Eric and Larry said to me, "What do you think about the USFL playing in Detroit this year?" I said, "You never know where you have to go to recruit folks back to Detroit." But of course, the team had the plans in motion, and not only are we going to be cheering for the Panthers, but at least for a year we will graciously host the Philadelphia Stars and support them as well. And I know if nobody else, Arn is going to be cheering for Philadelphia. But great day for the city of Detroit. And to the Michigan Panthers, I just want to say, welcome home.
It was literally yesterday, 1 year ago, that we were in Birmingham, snowless Birmingham, to announce actually just our inaugural season of the USFL. And it was a real sprint to the beginning. We feel like with all the partnerships that we have here in Detroit, we're just going to have an amazing launch here at Ford Field in just 94 days. A year ago, our goal was to celebrate football. I mean, that's what we do at Fox Sports 12 months out of the year, 365. And to have the USFL is just another great reason to celebrate football and bring the country together. We also, as Daryl said, crowned the champion, which hadn't been done in 40 years of a professional spring football league. And actually, the most awesome thing would be to have the Lions season go right through mid-February, and then we kick off in April here, so that the gap is very, very small between professional football here in Michigan. It is a region that loves football as much as we do at Fox and at the USFL. So it's great to officially welcome the Detroit community to Season 2 of the USFL, whether it's here at Ford Field, which we hope everybody comes out to, or just watching at home on Fox Sports or NBC Sports. The USFL is dedicated to bringing fans closer to the game that they love. So we hope that fans and their families, as Daryl said, throughout Michigan, as well as our neighbors in Canada, they'll come down to Detroit to celebrate football, starting with the first game right here on April 30th. We just couldn't be more excited for Season 2 to kick off. And again, thank you to everyone here today for making this happen.
So the USFL's 4th hub is now Ford Field in Detroit, first big stadium that they actually have. So the inaugural game is on Sunday, April 30th at Ford Field, the first of several weekends of professional football in downtown Detroit. Fans, of course, can pre-register for USFL game tickets via Ticketmaster and the USFL. Detroit will host the Philadelphia Stars during the 2023 regular season. So Detroit and Michigan Panthers and Philadelphia Stars will be in Detroit. Canton, Ohio will have the Pittsburgh Maulers and New Jersey Generals. So on the 40th anniversary of the original Michigan Panthers winning the USFL championship, the league announced that Detroit will serve as a host city for the iconic team. Of course, Darryl Moose Johnson said, "We're back. USFL is making history by announcing the Michigan Panthers have returned to home in 2023 to play at Ford Field. You'd think that maybe they would have had this before because of putting Jeff Fisher in Michigan, knowing that, hey, the probabilities that they might be doing something in Detroit, put him there, big name coach, big, huge field to fill with fans. Really, I think for Michigan Panthers, they could really do well. That team, the Lions were just good this year and, inching towards the playoffs. Fans are excited about them. Having a follow-up with a very successful Michigan Panthers team, I think would bode well and revitalize that downtown Detroit area. But it would be very good for not only that area, but the USFL. Panthers will open their home slate at Ford Field in one of 2 featured games on Sunday, April 30th. Of course, fans can pre-register, make deposits of $25 per ticket to get season tickets. The league also announced that Detroit will host the Philadelphia Stars during the 2023 regular season. In 1983, the Panthers and Stars faced off in the first USFL championship game, the start of an iconic historic rivalry that will be renewed this season. Local officials believe hosting 2 professional football teams this spring will have a strong economic impact. Notice they went back and said 1983 Panthers and Stars. Remember that whole lawsuit and they didn't really recognize the past? Well, there you have it. Those days are over because they just mentioned the 83 Panthers and Stars face off for the first USFL championship. We'll see as the next, less than 100 days goes, if any more of this historic USFL things come back now that this lawsuit is over with. Today's announcement that the Michigan Panthers are coming home to play at Ford Field builds on Detroit's momentum as a sports and tourism destination, said Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan. So on and so forth. They're excited, blah, blah, blah. The Panthers are already one of the leader. The Panthers were already one of the leaders in merchandise sales and social media reach during the USFL's first season, and local officials are excited about the team returning to Michigan to begin season 2. Detroit is a city of champions. Visit the Sports Commission are excited to welcome the Panthers from Claude Molinari, president and CEO of Visit Detroit. So he's excited too, as everyone should be. The Stars and Panthers will arrive in Detroit metro region in mid-March for the start of training camp. So that's another piece. So sometime mid-March is when the USFL training camp will begin. When the 10-week USFL regular season begins April 15th, both teams will start on the road before coming home to Ford Field on April 30th in the first of several weekends of professional football games in downtown Detroit. What's interesting about this is I was wondering how they were going to do the schedule. Were they going to do the schedule, one team home and one team away? It seems like both teams will travel to, because might as well just lump them all together. Both teams will travel to a location. They'll have 2, so the Panthers and Stars will travel to Birmingham. They'll play games in Birmingham that weekend, and then both will travel back. And I think that sounds like how they're doing things. So there's little tidbits here and there when it comes to the schedule. That's going to be really interesting when it comes out. So the USFL is the first major professional spring league, of course, 40 years, have a championship. We all know the rest. Exciting to deliver so much stuff. Fox, ABC, NBC, blah, 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 blah. So there you have it. The 4 hubs announced. You have Ford Field in Detroit. You have Canton, Ohio, Tom Benson Stadium. You have Memphis, Tennessee, and you have Birmingham, Alabama as your 4 hub locations. So a lot of complaints that the fans had, which was about everything being in Birmingham. It looks like we're moving forward 4 hub cities. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how this plays out with fans in the stands, more packed house. How is the perception of the USFL going to be for season 2? We will just have to find out.
I guess when you ask the question, the first word that came in is Pittsburgh appropriate. It falls in line with what Pittsburgh expects and has modeled, so great decision.
So So the Pittsburgh Maulers. So the Pittsburgh Maulers have changed their logo colors to black and gold. So there you have the big change. So the USFL revealed they teased something that was new on the horizon. And not only do they have a new head coach, Ray Horton, but they have a fresh look too. They teased that, and then now we have the new Maulers colors. They're black and gold. They match the color scheme of the hometown Steelers of the NFL, Penguins of the NHL, and Pirates of Major League Baseball. Now, the Shop USFL site has updated some of the items with the news look, but not many. But we are sure the league will add more items as the season gets closer. So what do you think of the new Maulers? I think everybody is across the board clear that this is the colors that had to be Pittsburgh Maulers. The question is the Pittsburgh Maulers going to get over in Canton, Ohio, or they're just going to be excited to have teams in Canton, Ohio, kind of their home team, but it's not really their home team. It's Pittsburgh's home team. But Pittsburgh is a big city. We're just going to have to find out, but definitely changing the colors to fit in the motif of Pittsburgh is definitely a good thing for the team. And with a new coach, getting rid of Kirby Wilson, this could be all good for the Pittsburgh Maulers going into the 2023 season. Let's rip through some player transactions for the USFL. So the Maulers released quarterback Roland Rivers. He posted something about it on Twitter that made the decisions from the quarterback room, releasing signal caller Roland Rivers III. Rivers was originally acquired back in Week 7 of the 2022 USFL season by the Maulers after going 1-5. Why would they get rid of Lad Lee, by the way? Pittsburgh thrust him in as a starter, where he completed 18 passes for 218 yards and a touchdown and lost to the New Jersey Generals. Rivers played sparingly as a backup but never saw a starting lineup for the rest of the way, and he announced, thanking everybody right now. So the Maulers quarterback room, as it stands right now, is James Morgan, Chase Forcade, Connor Sampson, and Troy Williams. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out for the Pittsburgh Maulers quarterbacks. On to the Showboats released kicker Tyler Rausa and QB Guy Myers. A day after Cole Kelly announced that he's signed with the Showboats, Memphis trimmed their roster by 2. Recently released all-football kicker Tyler LaRussa out of Boise State and Guy Myers, QB out of Charleston College. Currently, the Showboats have 0 true kickers and now have only Brady White and Cole Kelly in the QB room. Myers originally came to the USFL by free agency to the New Jersey Generals, become an undrafted free agent in the 2022 NFL Draft. Originally covered by Mike Mitchell of USL News Hub, Mitchell describes Myers as a late bloomer with a strong arm, mimicking the skill set of DeAndre Johnson. And then the Showboats also released veteran kicker Tyler Russo, who spent the time with the DC Defenders in addition to his time with the Bandits Showboats last year. Russo was 9 of 14 on field goals and 15 for 16 on extra points. Alt-League career Russo was 18 of 26 on field goals for a career percentage of 69%. Not the greatest in the world, but after the addition of Kelly, the Showboats roster now sits at 61. Russo being released by the team may turn to all USFL punter Brandon Wright, who kicked in the NFL and college, however, owns a 59.3% field goal percentage while at Georgia State. We will see. Maybe they'll try to have 2 guys on there. More. Stallions add Jace Sternberg to solidify their tight end room. After losing Sage Surratt to the NFL's Los Angeles Chargers and trading Kyle Markway to Birmingham Stallions, they added another tight end this Thursday. The Stallions added NFL veteran Jace Sternberger, who recently was in camp with the Pittsburgh Steelers and had a late season workout with the Cleveland Browns. Jersey General signed veteran NFL defensive back Blake Countless, improving on their talent. Let's see here. Leagues like the USFL are loaded with young pro footballs recently out of college with varying NFL experience. Players are looking. So the acquisition of veteran Blake Countless by the Countess by the New Jersey Generals is a sign that the USFL is growing in respect and stature on the football landscape, proving that the league is more than just a neophyte players with limited NFL experience. Countess is 29, brings a wealth of playing and starting experience in the NFL to the Generals. The Maryland native, 4-star recruit who played for Michigan and Auburn during his collegiate career, was drafted in the 6th round by the Philadelphia Eagles. More, lots more. The Stallions keep doing their best to put a championship roster. After a couple months of speculation, the Stallions brought back one staples of their defense, Brian Allen. Allen left the Stallions in August after spending 17 days with the Saints in training camp. Original 5th-round pick out of Utah in 2017 by the Steelers. Allen spent time with 7 NFL teams in his career. Appeared in 20 NFL games and career totaling 6 tackles. 2020, he started 1 game for the 49ers before being released. He's earned about $1.5 million throughout his 5 seasons, so he returns to the Stallions. Stars re-signed Jordan Moore. Stars have been quiet. Guys like Channing Stribling, Cody Brown, Tavon Coney, Dexter Williams, Sean Brown, and Jordan Moore all have opted to resign with their 2022 home. Building on the continuity. So now they also added Lawrence Dallabetta, a tight end, 6'4", 235 to the roster. Also Jordan Genmark Heath, a linebacker, 6'1", 225. Let's see here. Heath isn't all that different from other players that started leaning heavily on his past. He's a native of Stockholm, Sweden, where he lived until he was 14 years old. Migrated to the U.S. and started playing high school. Upon heading to college. So there are those guys there. We'll continue. Showboats add Cole Kelly to round out the QB room. So we talked about that. New Orleans Breakers, a bunch of things. So they signed additions from December to January. Offensive tackle Paul Allen, defensive end Justice Reed, go Hokies. Zacoby McLean, a linebacker. Davis Cheek, big sign there for New Orleans Breakers. He was somebody that the Carolina Panthers had some. He was with them. Also, the XFL was looking at him as well. Wide receiver Reggie Davis, some experience, went to Georgia, played with a bunch of NFL teams. Cornerback Josh Valentine Turner, played with the Seahawks. Darian Hackenstraw, no pro experience, played at Colorado and Tulane. Defensive tackle Chris Richardson, out of UTEP, he played in the Spring League and the ELF. So, hey, it's good to see an ELF guy make it there. So that's kind of the latest updates when it comes to the New Orleans Breakers. Houston Gamblers released a couple players from their roster, 2 months away from training camp to release 2 players. Wide receiver Tyler Simmons out of Georgia and offensive line Braxton Webb out of Angelo State and SMU. Simmons found playing time in the Gamblers last year with injuries to the receiver. He recorded 8 catches for 89 yards and a 44-yard touchdown catch during the season. With the loss of Isaiah Zuber to the NFL, some were expecting Simmons to be part of the rotation. The group already is deep with Anthony Ratliff-Williams, JoJo Ward, T.O. Redding, and Tyler Palka headlining the returning receivers, but it was going to be an uphill challenge for Simmons to compete for playing time. Braxton Webb was originally signed back in May to help the Gamblers with depth on offensive line as they were dealing with injuries. Webbs didn't get to see the field much in 2022 as injuries got better toward the end of the season. Offensive line appears to be in good shape with returning linemen Avery Genesee, Brandon Hittner, and Tyler Higbee among those returning. Showboats add corner Troy Warner. He is the brother of 49 linebackers by the name of Warner as well. Fred Warner, who is a legit star and may be making playing in the playoffs. Warner joins the USFL after spending 2 seasons with the Bucks and Rams. Congratulations to him. Jersey Generals bring back standout punter Brock Miller. If you're a fan of Pat McAfee, you know that punters and kickers are people too and are really critical to their game. So they re-signed standout punter Brock Miller. Just finished the 2022 NFL season on the Rams practice squad after starting for New Jersey as one of the USFL's best specialists last season. Miller became a hot property on the NFL workout circuit, working out for several dozen NFL teams before landing with the Rams. Good to see him back. Showboats add offensive lineman Damian Mama, signing with he lost him to the San Antonio Brahmas, so he is taken out after days after releasing safety Anthony Coffey. The Showboats have seen Damian Mama also leave the team after being removed from the USFL's page. He has recently signed with the San Antonio Brahmas of the XFL. Panthers signed a familiar face. Ish Heyman returns to the USFL. Friendly face at wide receiver. returns to the Panthers after being waived by the Green Bay Packers, returns to the Panthers after 2 years in the USFL and his third year in alt football. He joined the Panthers on May 9th of last season. The former James Madison alum spent time with the AAF's Apollos, stints with the Browns, Bucks, Carolina Panthers. Recorded 4 catches and 60 yards in the AAF. Let's see here. While at the Michigan, despite being a late addition, was an instant spark for the team. He finished the sixth in receiving yards, 158, despite only playing in 4 games. His presence was instantly felt as an injured receiving core was instantly upgraded. So the good thing to have him back as well. And finally, the Memphis Showboats bring back all USFL tackle Jaron Jones. This is big. Remember, offensive tackle is the hard, offensive line is the hardest ones to fulfill in any of these alt football leagues. So Thursday night, they brought back the USFL offensive tackle Jaron Jones. This comes several weeks after the Showboats found out that Juwan Bushell-Beatty will be joining the St. Louis Battlehawks of the XFL. Thomas comes back to the USFL for his 3rd year in the alt football scene. Drafted in the NFL in 2019, played in the USFL, and then, of course, he played with Tampa Bay, now moving on to the Memphis Showboats. And that's all of the... And this is just in the last week, my friends. This was just in the last week. Sad news in the league. Birmingham Stallions defensive end Jesse Lemonier passed away at the age of 25. The Stallions are dealing with some tragic news this morning. Defensive end Jesse Lemonier had passed away at the age of 25. Luminier's former NFL team, the Detroit Lions, confirmed the news. As of this writing, the Birmingham Stallions know the USFL has released a statement. He was planning on playing in the USFL, but he never played last year, so played his college ball at Liberty University, went undrafted in 2020, signed with the Chargers following the draft, and appeared in 6 games, recording 2 tackles. He then signed with the Lions ahead of the 2021 season, found a bit of a role with the Lions, recording 15 tackles and 1.5 sacks in 7 games for Detroit that season. The Lions waived Lemonier in May of 2022, and he was claimed by the Arizona Cardinals. However, the Cardinals released him prior to the beginning of the 2022 NFL season. In November, Lemonier was drafted in the XFL by the Arlington Renegades, but he decided against playing in the Renegades or in the XFL. He signed on with the Houston Gamblers on New Year's Eve. The same day, the Gamblers traded Lemonier to the Birmingham Stallions in exchange for quarterback Montrell Cozart. Our thoughts and prayers and condolences, of course, go out to the Lemonier family through this tragic and difficult time, not only to him, but also to his teammates, family, of course, and friends. All right, my friends, lots of USFL news this week. Wow, lots of player transactions. There'll be more movement. I was wondering if we're going to see some CFL players make their way to the USFL. The CFL players can't get out of their contracts until February. So I'll be curious to see if sometime mid-February. So I'll be curious to see if we get any CFL players, maybe former guys that played in the CFL that were in the XFL and AAF, making their way back down to the United States to play some football in front of hometown fans. Now, think about these guys. They have, the collective bargaining agreement's been put in place that, gives them better benefits and better pay and all this other stuff. Playing in 4 different hubs versus the 1. That's also going to be very interesting. So for the league. So we'll just have to kind of see this whole thing of player signings. I mean, the XFL is kicking off in less than 30 days. So that should lock in all the rosters. And it's been a lot of movement. I would say it's been about 50-50. Players going to the XFL or people leaving the XFL for the USFL. It's just about the opportunity, coaching staff. And the great thing about this is that it's all about the players having an opportunity to play and also being to pick and choose what scheme is going to work better for them. Will this give me a better opportunity to play in the NFL under this coach versus that coach? Maybe I need to give my body a rest, so I'm not going to hop on to the XFL season and start practicing right now. Maybe I need some time to recoup, play in the USFL. So having options is a fantastic thing for all of these players. Let's go into the YouTube real quick for your social media stuff. Theodore King says Brian Wood steps down, then a short time later, Ford Field in Detroit gets named as a hub. Coincidence? I think not. I don't think it's a big conspiracy theory at all. I just think that the rumblings that we heard was that he was going to be a one and done no matter what. So that's kind of where that stands with Brian Woods. But you notice, I thought it was very interesting that during the USFL, when the original USFL, and who knows what the truth is, but when the original USFL last year came out, the story was Brian Woods came to Eric Shanks, told him he had this idea. Remember, Woods was the one that kind of acquired the USFL stuff. Then there was that whole mess with it. So who knows what that was, if that played a factor or what. But now they all basically say it's Eric Shanks' idea about the USFL. And I was like, well, that's not what the story was last year. But ain't no thing but a chicken wing. It don't matter to me. However you all want to do that, that's fine with me. Onto the Twitter, or onto the Instagram real quick, talking about the hub and Ford Field. Jake says, well, I wanted it to be Ricerson so bad. So I know they're they're playing their games at Ford Field, but they're practicing somewhere else. And so that's, going to be a little bit different. But, the USFL, that is a big stadium. And, they're going to, what I've heard is they're selling tickets only on the side of the, where the TV side of things. It's going to be attendance is going to be the issue. But you've got half of your teams, even though Canton is questionable, that's the one I want to see. But you have half of your teams essentially having home fields every time they play. So, we'll see how all that plays out. So really the next biggest thing that we're waiting for in the timeline, and we're hearing sometime in March, is mid-March is when the players will get back at it. But really it's when the schedule is coming out, and I would expect that to be real soon in the next week or two. They've already had these, they had the announcements with the fields and the hubs. Now that the hubs are in place, sell tickets. You got to do what the XFL didn't do, which is wait forever for that schedule to come out so they could start selling single game tickets. You want to start selling those suckers as soon as possible. The other interesting thing about the USFL is that they've actually, their PR teams are all not just, and this is what the USFL is doing. And I think this is the better approach in the long run, is actually they're kind of outsourcing their PR stuff to those areas rather than hiring a staff full time like the XFL is doing. So they're both competing business models. I think as far as like financially, I think the USFL is in good shape how they're doing things. The XFL seems to be spending a lot of money. So we'll see how all this plays out over the next couple of years. But hey, we're in season 2 of the USFL. Can't complain about that. That is a good thing. All right, if you want to be part of the show, our next show, email podcast@usflnewshub.com with your thoughts, record an MP3 or video on your phone, and leave a voicemail, 888-430-7692, extension 5. Let us know. What do you think about these hubs? Is there another area that you think would be better? I know Philadelphia was a big talk there for a little while. Let us know. Also, let us know in the comments. And remember, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate that. And leave us a review there. So, yes, that makes us happy. So, ton of USFL news this week. Super exciting stuff. And, hey, man, we're less than 100 days. Remember, fantasy football, you can go to, let's see here. I'll pull that up real quick before we close out. USFL, you can go to News Hub Fantasy and play USFL Fantasy Football. We should have the ability to start making teams and stuff like that real soon. We have the latest rosters already in the system, so we're excited about being able to do that. That's the plan. In the next week or two, you'll be able to, we'll open up the 2023 season. Super excited about that. All right, my friends, as always, that's it for me this week. Who knows? Will I be back next week? We'll just kind of have to find out if there's more breaking news. If we get the schedules, definitely come out for that. And any other kind of huge news coming from the USFL. But definitely, we're thinking around March is when we really start to crank up. Once training camps start, we'll really start to crank up the content and get you all set for the USFL season. because we got the NFL season closing down, the XFL, then we have the USFL, CFL, fan control football, all, and so much more. All right, my friends, that is it for me, folks. As always, thanks for listening. Mahalo. God bless. And I will see you all later.